Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another show. So I know I've been gone now for about a week. Son had a birthday um, last week Friday, and then we had the holiday right after President's Day. They were supposed to leave on Monday, and then my daughter wasn't ready to leave, so they ended up staying until Tuesday night, and then I was just wiped. Took Wednesday off. I did some research yesterday, and today I'm here. I think need to talk about the most important thing I think that's happening right now, and it's this disaster in East Palestine. I don't think it's been getting the kind of coverage that it's due, and I just wanted to touch on it just briefly. Let me see what people are thinking, if there's anybody from that particular area or somewhere nearby. I've looked online. There's a lot of people saying a lot of things concerning that train derailment, and I felt it necessary, although there's so much going on, I felt it necessary to come on here and actually touch on it, and also let whoever is from that area or neighboring areas know that you are in my thoughts and my prayers. And I don't know how it's going to work out. Obviously, I have no idea, but I'm hoping all goes well. At this point, I am hoping things turn out good. They don't look good. They don't. And that's why I have this up on the screen right now. This is a screenshot of the chemicals that were on the train. So let me read this. Let me just jump over and take a look at it real quick. It says here, Dear Mr. Gernand, I think that's how you say that, the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency has documented the release or threat of release of hazardous substances, pollutants, or contaminants into the environment from the East Palestine train derailment site, located in East Palestine, Ohio. Gives the latitude, longitude. On February 3rd, 2023, at approximately 8:55 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, a Norfolk Southern train comprised of roughly 150 rail cars derailed. Now, this right here, it strikes me as a problem, because why would you carry that much at one time? It's concerning to me that I don't know if that's how they do it, if that's how it's regularly done, but to have this many cars, but I guess that's how it is, right? In rural areas, they have these long trail, anyways. Approximately 20 rail cars were listed as carrying hazardous materials. This is where you gotta pay attention. Cars containing vinyl chloride, butyl acrylate, ethihexyl acrylate, and ethylene glycol monobutyl ether are known to have been and continue to be released to the air, surface soils, and surface waters. Now, why is that part important? Well, I took a look at the map for myself. So this is East Palestine, right? Look how close it is to Pennsylvania. Now let me zoom in so you can see. You see these waterways right here, right? You can clearly see that this goes into Pennsylvania, right? So already big issue, right? Whoever is here, right, they're at risk if it's in the water, and it likely is. But here's the bigger problem. If you look at this here, right, this stream, creek, whatever it is, I'm going to minimize this and show you where it actually goes to. So just bear with me. All right. So from here, this goes here. And from this, let me show you. See this right here. All right, pay attention to that. Do you see how far this river travels? Now that's from East Palestine, right? And we keep on, if you just keep on dragging this, right? Look at all the places that this river that's connected to East Palestine will go to. This ends up, from what I remember about tracking it, this ends up all the way in the Mississippi, right? This is the same river, right? That came from all, look how far, right? And it's been, how long? It happened on the 3rd, so you're talking about roughly 3 weeks, right? So it has had plenty of time to travel. Now, the reason I brought up the chemicals was because if you look up these chemicals for yourself, if you look these chemicals up and you look at the reaction to what happens when you burn them, that's where it's kind of concerning, because when you burn these chemicals, they're actually pretty bad, right? The resultant effects of them being burnt are pretty terrible. And I think I don't know who decided it would be better off to burn it. I don't know what else could have been done. Obviously, I'm not, in that field, so it's hard for me to say for myself what should have been done. But it seems like initially the spread would have been less if it wasn't burnt. That's just, that's just me, I think. But I'll show you why I say that. Let me go to another page right here, and I'll show you that. So I saw this video, right? Another YouTuber uploaded, and there's somebody that's from, how you say, like a neighboring county, right, that this train passed through. And I'll play the video so that you don't have to take my word for it. Look, just listen.
Kimberly wrote, so I grew up in Lisbon, Ohio. That's about 12 miles away from East Palestine, and in terms of time, about 20 minutes away. I now live in Salem, Ohio with my husband and 2 sons. First off, let's just be clear. This train had a wheel that was on fire and was on fire going all the way through Salem, which is, again, 18 miles away from where the train derailed, give or take. There's pictures throughout Salem of this train on fire, which means this train also went through Lithuania on fire and Columbiana. We know it was on fire for a very long time, at least through Salem. Who knows how long it was on fire before it made it to Salem? Now, call me crazy, but why in all that time did the conductor not stop the train before it derailed? And Kimberly is absolutely right. This footage right here was captured by a security camera at an equipment plant in Salem, Ohio, about 20 miles before it went off the rails in East Palestine. This footage was taken around 8:12 p.m. and the derailment happened 20 miles later at 8:55 p.m. So you're telling me that for at least 45 minutes and possibly more, this train was sparking and on fire and nobody called to let anybody know? The conductors who are on board were unaware of what was going on? I just want to ask, are there any seasoned conductors out?
So it's obvious the problem started way before the derailment. Now, what does that mean in terms of culpability? I don't know. I can't really say. What it does indicate, however, is that these train cars are not safe, right? Because there should be a system where even if you're all the way up front as the conductor, whoever you are, if a car is on fire, there should be some sort of alert on your dash, on your, I don't know if they have like a heads up display on these things. I would hope that they do. But there should be a system whereby if there's a problem with one of the cars that you're notified. Now, what it seems like, and obviously I don't know for myself, what it seems like is that did not happen. Because this is not a small fire. It's pretty big at this point. It's not engulfing the whole car, but you can see it's taking up a fair portion, right, of this area right here. It's clearly visible, right? It's nighttime, clearly visible. But nobody did anything. The train wasn't stopped to douse it or anything, which led to this derailment thereafter. So, what can I say about that? But my concern really is for the people that are there.
Years of experience who can give us any information on if this could have been detected by the guys running the engine. I understand trains can be long, and this could be a long way from the engine house or whatever you call it. But it seems like somehow in 45 minutes you would know that your train was on fire. And again, this video is just from Salem. How long had it been sparking? How long was it on fire? For all we know, it could have been 30 minutes prior to this. Kimberly continues, we personally haven't been affected by the burn off, but we also don't know long-term effects from the chemicals they burned. We know that when they did the burn, they released a nerve gas that was used in World War I against enemies. We personally kept our kids inside last week for the burn, but I'm not naive to think that we're in the clear with any of this. Yes, the creeks and rivers are most definitely contaminated, and there's livestock that died from this. Was this all a plan, or was it really an accident? Again, I may sound crazy, but the way the world is going, one has to wonder. Creation and Evolution wrote, the river valley had a gray mist the day after the controlled burn. Little Beaver Creek feeds into the Ohio River, where a lot of other water plants draw water from. The nearest in East Liverpool, Ohio, is claiming water is safe, but downstream is advising no drink warnings. The air in the valley is already toxic as is due to industry, specifically SH Bell at the border, where it was proven to the EPA and to the DOJ dozens have toxic levels of manganese and other things such as arsenic and lead poisoning. They signed a consent decree self-monitoring prior to seeing the blood tests, and the ex-mayor was told by lead toxicologists at the EPA that the results were put in a safe place. By the way, this is the same EPA whose safety team accidentally released contaminated water from a mine into the Animas River in southwest Colorado back in 2015. The spill, which sent heavy metals, arsenic, and other contaminants into a waterway that flows into the San Juan National Forest, occurred in August of that year. The EPA initially said 1 million gallons of wastewater had been released, but it turns out it
That's supposed to be a river. A river with like clear, clean water. It's hard to be trusting of these places like the EPA, the FDA, all of them, because, just look at all the things that they have in foods here that other countries have already banned, coloring and all these other things. And then the EPA, they say, oh, well, the levels are safe. And then you look around and animals dying, pets dying, people getting sick, and you're like, are you sure? Because from what I'm seeing, I don't think it actually is, but, you're saying it is. So, I mean, from what I showed from the river, which is the river that the person that made that statement was talking about. I think Little Beaver Creek. That is the one that goes all the way down to the Ohio River, and that big river then goes all the way down to the Mississippi, right? That little creek also feeds over to Pennsylvania. So I'm just, I mean, no worrying is not going to do much, but the fact that this happened, and then shortly thereafter, there were like two more derailments, right? And from what I understand, Pete Buttigieg, whatever his name is, he only went down there yesterday. This guy needs to be fired. It's obvious. He's not, you know, he's not the person for the job. Regardless of his lifestyle or whatever, he is not the person for the job. When something like this happens, you're supposed to be there the next day, right? If you got to get a hazmat suit from the CDC or whatever the case is, however you have to get one, you need to be down there to see what is going on, how it happened, why it happened, right? Show an interest. This guy could care less. I saw somebody trying to interview him on the street, and he's like, "Oh well, I'm on my way to dinner." And this stuff is, it's on YouTube. You can look it up. Just look at, I think Tucker did a piece about him, and how incompetent he has been in this position. He needs to go. It's obvious. But apart from that, what are the effects this is going to have on these people and neighboring counties and even neighboring states? Because like I said, these chemicals, the burn off from these chemicals, it is, the effects that I looked up, we talking about rashes, peeling skin, breakouts, all kinds of lesions, um, sort of like, what would be the accurate thing to compare it to? It's sort of like being this number of chemical. It would be like being exposed to something like Ebola. That's what I would equate it to. All right. And who the hell wants to be exposed to Ebola? But this is serious. And I feel like
is at least 3 times that amount.
It's not
maybe
being treated
even
as
more.
seriously as
Here's
it
the
is.
Animas River before the EPA spill and after the EPA spill. Before, after. Kind of like before the controlled burn in East Palestine, Ohio, and after the controlled burn. Remember, they're from the government and they're only here to help. There's no problem that you or I have that's so great that the addition of government can't make it exponentially worse. Creation and evolution continues. A waste incinerator pollutes the air, a coal ash dump site leaking into the river and local wells since the 1970s. All bonuses living in this couple mile radius. The largest green space in the area, and industry is destroying it. They're there to protect profit, not people. The U.S. is a branch business, folks. And Darren says, alert, Brian, they aren't done.
So that comparison that they showed, what happened before the burn off and what happened after, that's what I was talking about. Where you can clearly see that there's, this white
burning off chemicals.
kind
There
of
will
smoke.
be more.
But then after they burnt it, then you see this mushroom cloud. Now, isn't that worse than what was happening before? I thought when you had a I know in school, right, if there's a chemical spill, you put like sand on it. You put something to absorb it. You don't burn it, right? That's basic chemistry. But then again, I'm not in the EPA. I don't know. But I do know when you burn stuff like this, you release it into the atmosphere, right? It binds with the water vapor, and then it's going to fall as acid rain. You burn it like this, you get all the molecules floating off into the atmosphere, getting into all the different rivers and vegetation, traveling further than it could have prior to you burning it. Is it making sense? Or, because to me it's pretty simple. Like, why would you apparently make it worse than it needed to be? That's why the person asked this question, like, is it planned or what? Like, it does not seem real.
I have info from a source that there are still approximately 7 to 8 more train cars worth of chemicals that they're going to explode and burn off. They're soliciting the help of 50 different fire departments, and one happens to be where I am, thankfully west of the location, but still in Ohio and still within the radius. Also, what link are you viewing the wind speeds? That would be Venture Sky, and that link can be found on my website. Ron says, I live about 30 minutes from here, but work 15 to 20 minutes away. On Monday, after the crash around 11 a.m., I started noticing an itch under my armpits. By 6 p.m. that day, I was covered in a skin rash from my chest, arms, and groin area that lasted for 3 days only after steroid intervention and prescription cream. I am keeping a record of everything because I'm certain it was caused by the derailment. Theodore says, moved from central Ohio to Tulsa and have a sister and her family near there. She and both the kids already have respiratory issues. I tried and failed to get them to come down here to Oklahoma for a few weeks at least. No go. Then her neighbor's horses died and her husband's horses died overnight. Nephew said his lungs felt like popcorn, and now they're coming down here to Tulsa for a bit. Now, guys, if you live in this...
So this is the guy who I was talking about. This is from his channel. This is Brian. So it's obvious to me, right? These chemicals that were released are toxic, right? You just heard from one person about the rash that they were getting. I saw an interview where this woman was saying she had migraines. The guy said he had coughing spasms, coughed so hard he started spitting up blood. And there are other people talking about the odor. There's a sweet, pungent odor, right? Because they burnt it. And if you've ever seen a fire, right? Burns, you smell it for sometimes days going on. Right? If there's ever been a fire in your neighborhood, or you witnessed one, or you were in close proximity of one, or it's like Passion, back in the days, they used to have those large trash sites where they burn like rubber and stuff like that, and you would smell it for like long after you passed it. Exactly like that. And that's what's happening. And I'm just thinking about what are the long-term effects of this happening and it not being treated appropriately. To me, that's the most concerning part, because I don't think they acted appropriately in burning it. That's my honest opinion. As I said, I don't know what anybody else thinks. I don't know if anybody is from that area, knows somebody in that area, has family in that area, or anybody in the surrounding areas. But if you do, if you could give some feedback, that would be great. If you heard of anything or saw something, maybe even here on YouTube, that I could reference for more information, that would be good. But I think it's something to watch and I don't think these people should be there, quite honestly. I mean, I know it's hard to just, get up and leave your home and, go wherever, but the people that are responsible, Norfolk, their profits were close to 5 billion last year. You know what I'm saying? If it has to be a situation where they are fully culpable for this, and they're on the hook, then I would suggest they make good. They messed up. Quite honestly, I don't understand how you traffic these dangerous chemicals without a proper bladder system within the train cars that they're being moved in. I don't know how they transport them, but I imagine if you're carrying something that is that toxic, there has to be a framework within where you say to yourself, okay, so God forbid the train cars derail. How do we keep this stuff from igniting or spilling? And then you should have the proper system within, so that they're kept safe. That's my perspective. You're gonna transport these things within a residential area. You should take into consideration, hey, accidents happen. So what can we do to prepare for the worst case scenario? And to me, it doesn't look like that's being done, which is why, again, Pete Buttigieg, he should not be in that job. He needs to be fired immediately. They need to replace him with somebody that's not one of those DEI hires. These diversity, equity, and inclusion hirements. That's all he is. As far as I can see, that's all he is. Anyways, I think I've spoken enough and said enough. I had another show that I wanted to do since last week actually, but like I said, it was my son's birthday, and I had to take time off to spend with them. I had actually planned it for Monday night. I had two people lined up, actually, people that were going to call in to have a discussion. But I had to postpone that because, the kids stayed until Tuesday night. And then, Wednesday I was just wiped. I needed to take a day, and then I had to do more research on the chemicals and what exactly is going on, check the waterways, see how far they go, the burn off. What are we talking? Maybe it's another Chernobyl. Maybe the effects might be slower, but, I have a grave concern about this issue, which is why I haven't done the other show yet. I may do it tonight. I contacted the person that I was supposed to have, or one of them, and he said he would probably be free today. I'm not sure yet, so that's still up in the air, but it may be tonight. So tentatively, it's gonna be tonight. But I think this whole East Palestine, Ohio situation and that derailment is just indicative of the failures that are in so many different levels, and with Pete Buttigieg not doing his job, it's like a video that I made previously, like how there's so many problems on so many different levels of government. This is just another one of those. It's more of the same. It's more of the same. It's so much happening at one time. It's like you can't even keep up with everything. But anyways, like I said, I'm not trying to keep this video too long. I think I've already went on for quite a while. It's like almost 30 minutes. Yeah, but if I do have at least one of those calls, I'll probably do the show tonight. As I said, it's centered around relationships, like more or less experience that this person had, and relates to so many things that you see out there in social media. These whole talking points that, in comparison to this, it's important in a sense of, human interaction, not an emergency situation, but I think something that some light needs to be shed upon it. So that's kind of why I wanted to talk about it. But yeah, I have two people lined up. If I can sync them to be on the same call, then I will. If not, I might just have to do them separately, which I might still end up doing. But we'll see. We shall see. So until next time, I am out. Oh, and always, you know what? I'll post it in the description. I said I would start dropping my information before I make the video, and somehow I don't ever remember to do that. That's my bad. But I'll post it in the description for anybody that's looking for it. So until next time, I'm out. I hope you guys have an awesome day, whatever day you're watching this. Today's Friday, happens to be. It is now 10:53 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, Friday, February 24th. So, like I said, probably tonight I'm going to do that other show. I'm going to try to make sure I do it. I think it'll be a good live to join. So, till next time. Peace.